Get ready to witness the crucial events narrated by significant figures who were present throughout the Titanic sinking. We've recreated and brought these real-life characters to life to provide you with an authentic perspective on the events that unfolded on that night. The Brugger Films channel is the foremost source for animated videos and information about the Titanic. And as you already know, here on our channel, the content is exclusive, so hit the like button and enjoy another top-notch production from the channel. If you're not a subscriber yet, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and of course, don't forget to share our channel with your friends. In this video, we'll start by listening to Captain Edward Smith. I'd he truly ignore iceberg warnings? Was the Titanic really going too fast? Well, let's hear from the captain what really happened.
I am Captain Edward Smith, Commodore of the White Star Line, and the captain in charge of the Titanic on its fateful maiden voyage. Contrary to what many claim, I never proclaimed the Titanic as unsinkable or used the expression that not even God could sink the ship. This interpretation became popular after the sinking, as the press had already used the term unsinkable to describe the Titanic even before its completion. On the night of the disaster, I was attending a festive dinner in the first class and gave orders to First Officer Murdoch, Sixth Officer James Moody, and Helmsman Robert Hykins to take control of the ship. After dinner, I retired to my quarters before the accident. The Titanic was sailing at an approximate speed of 25 miles per hour, a speed considered common for the route, despite warnings about the possible presence of icebergs. I now acknowledge that my significant mistake was not reducing the ship's speed and intensifying surveillance after receiving warnings about nearby icebergs. After the iceberg impact, panic spread across the deck, and I only realized that some lifeboats were partially occupied when they were already in the water. I requested them to return, but it was too late. I take responsibility for the loss of approximately 500 lives that could have been saved in the lifeboats. I felt compelled to stay on the ship, sinking with it, as the lives of the entire crew and passengers were entrusted to me as the captain. And I failed in my duty at the age of 62 after 40 years at sea. I left behind my wife Sarah and my daughter Helena.
The captain received honors from the entire press at the time, but what can Frederick Fleet, the lookout who was in the crow's nest and survived the sinking, tell us?
I am Frederick Fleet, one of the officers who was on lookout duty in the crow's nest on the fateful night of the Titanic accident. In 1912, the year of the sinking, at 25 years old, I was starting my career as a sailor and lookout aboard the Titanic. I would like to clarify that the inability to spot the iceberg was not due to the lack of using binoculars, as they are not effective for night vision. The challenge in identifying the imminent threat was caused by a phenomenon known as superrefraction. On that clear and moonlit night, with a bright moon, light bends, creating a kind of mirage that blends with the horizon. Without the presence of waves, there was no characteristic sound of water hitting the iceberg, and the immense ice rock was camouflaged in the mirrored water, reflecting the clear night sky. The iceberg was only noticed when we were very close, but by then it was already too late. After the alert about the iceberg, the Titanic had only 39 seconds to try to perform an evasive maneuver. Fortunately, I managed to survive the sinking on lifeboat number 6. However, I carried a significant burden for the inability to spot the threat in time. In December 1964, I lost my wife and found myself homeless. I fell into a deep depression and, unfortunately, on January 10, 1965, at the age of 77, I made the painful decision to end my own life by hanging myself in the garden of my former brother-in-law's residence.
What many don't know is that engineer Thomas Andrews, responsible for completing the Titanic project, yielded to the company's whims regarding the quantity of lifeboats on the Titanic's deck. An important yet lesser-known figure was the chief naval architect of the White Star Line, Alexander Carlisle. So let's pay close attention to his testimony. But before that, have you already subscribed to the channel and given us a thumbs up? Help the channel, subscribe, and share our videos with your friends. We appreciate it. Now let's get started.
Few recognize me in the storyline of the Titanic's history. My name is Alexander Carlisle, and in 1889 I was appointed Chief Naval Architect of Harland and Wolff, where, in collaboration with Thomas Andrews, I devoted myself to the construction of the grand ship. My crucial contribution to the Titanic's history involves a proposal that unfortunately did not move forward. I had the idea to include 48 lifeboats on board the ship, aiming for the maximum safety of the passengers. However, my proposal was rejected by Joseph Bruce Ismay, the company's president. Ismay argued that more lifeboats would impede deck space, cause discomfort to passengers, and compromise public trust in the ship's safety. So, Ismay determined that only 20 lifeboats would be carried, accommodating about 38% of the ship's occupants. At that time, regulations from the Board of Trade stipulated that British ships over 10,000 tons with watertight compartments, as in the case of the Titanic, should carry only 16 lifeboats plus rafts and floats to accommodate up to 50% of the occupants. Therefore, the White Star Line indeed provided more accommodations in lifeboats than legally required. My insistence on maintaining 48 lifeboats was fruitless, but I managed to persuade Ismay to install the Welin-type davits, capable of lowering 2 lifeboats simultaneously. This stance, however, created discomfort among the company's directors, leading me to the decision to retire and hand over the final Titanic project to the young engineer Thomas Andrews. During the tragic sinking in 1912, the Titanic carried 2,224 people, but it had the capacity to transport up to 3,027. Of all on board, only 710 people managed to embark on the lifeboats. If the Titanic had been at its maximum capacity, the tragedy would have been much worse. In the same year, I was called to testify before the British Inquiry Commission, where I explained that the ship was practically designed by Lord Pirrie, the president of Harland and Wolff, but finer details such as decorations, equipment, and general arrangements were under my responsibility. In the 1920s, I was plagued by serious pulmonary and cardiac problems. On March 6, 1926, unable to resist the illness, I passed away at the age of 71.
This was just the first part of the content that will bring the authentic perspective of the events experienced by each personality aboard the Titanic. So don't forget to turn on notifications to not miss the upcoming videos. On our channel, you'll also find animated videos on a variety of intriguing topics. Be sure to check out our other productions. Now, we want to hear your opinion on the narrated facts. Leave your comments below, as we love responding to everyone. We are always striving to improve our productions, so thank you for the warmth with which you've received us. Your likes are a great recognition of our work. We'll be happy to receive content suggestions you'd like us to produce. That's it. We look forward to having you all in the next production. A big hug, and until then,